Hello everybody. Thank you for joining me in this stream. Today, as you know, according to the schedule, we'll continue to work on our API, our eShop API in ASP.NET Core. Once again, this type of stream or this stream that I do always on Mondays from the same time, it's actually meant for beginners, so you won't see some really fancy stuff. But it's really a good way to get started with ASP.NET Core, understanding how different parts of ASP.NET Core work, how we can implement different features. And I thought that using an API for this is the best way to go, since we don't really get distracted by front-end stuff. As said, please feel free to join the chat, ask your questions there, leave your comments. If you have some ideas about features that we can implement, just let me know, and maybe we'll look into this. I really want this to be a community-driven project, because my whole idea is that I really want to help people that want to understand better how ASP.NET Core works. And in order to really be helpful, it's always great to have some feedback. Also, I have a suggestion box on my channel, so if you scroll just a little bit down, there is a suggestion box there. So if you have an idea, and I'm currently offline, so you can't leave a comment, then you can simply use that suggestion box, and I will get that type of information. And the good thing about that suggestion box is that also other people or other interested developers can upvote certain proposals, so that we can define together, I would say, how to proceed or what to do. Also, if you're interested in some more in-depth topics about coding in .NET generally, and using different design patterns and principles, and how to architect larger applications, I'm also doing a stream on Wednesday where we build a social network from scratch following domain-driven design principles. So yeah, feel free to also join that stream. I really think it could be helpful, even if you are, I would say, more at the starting point of your career, because you learn some concepts there. You get in touch with different concepts that you will remember at a certain point when you'll be in a scenario that maybe would be suitable for the concepts that you see right there. So yeah, that's why I think that also that other stream is really very important. And before we get going, just one more thing: if you have any friends or if you know people that might be interested in this stream, but also in the other stream, just feel free to spread the word. The word. Tell them about this stream channel. Tell them about what we're doing here, and I guess that they will be grateful to you if they really get to learn something out of it. Okay, so this being said, let's get started, I guess. Last time out, if I remember correctly, we did implement the idea of DTOs, and we created a product get DTO to handle incoming requests that want to get products via our API. And we also created this product put post DTO, and that one would be used by clients that simply want to create new resources, or if they want to update resources. And just as a very short summary here behind is that the reason why we use DTOs is actually that when clients make requests, especially to update or to post to create new resources, we actually don't want to expose to them implementation details about our applications. So we don't want them to let's say to come with an own ID, or to come with values for properties that we might calculate based on business logic. So in that case, we just oblige the clients to give us only the information that we need and that we think that clients should be able to post when they want to create a new resources. And then, of course, in the controller, we use those DTOs for the get endpoints. We have here the get all one. We use this product get DTO, so the DTO that we use for get requests. Of course, for get product by ID, we use the exact same DTO. We do some mappings here between our domain model, our product, and our product get DTO. and right now we're doing these mappings manually, but I guess maybe next week we'll implement a library that would do that for us. For now, then for create product, we just use this product put post DTO, and once again we convert it to a domain model or to our product, and then we use the seeder service to write our product, or in this case to add that product in our list of products. However, I thought a lot, especially the last hours, what should we do today? And my first guess would, or the first thing that came to mind was that I would like to go further and implement some other controllers, maybe for customers, maybe for orders or something like that, or maybe for a shopping cart, which will be probably our most complex controller, where we will have also nested resources, and we'll also come to that. But then I really realized that this seeder service that we have here under services, this seeder service really sucks, and it's not quite interesting or valuable to use it anymore. It was very useful for the first lesson to just get something started very quick, but I guess that for now we should get rid of this service, and the only way to get rid of this service is to implement or to work with databases. And in this case, what we would need to do is, of course, implement the Entity Framework Core. But as said, I would like, or even if this API is meant for, I would say, a more beginning level, and even if in a lot of tutorials or lessons you see basically everything put in one single project for the API, I said I just want to have my architecture fairly clear and to have a good distinction between the different layers that we have. And we see that we can see that we have right now a project for our domain models. In this case, we have just the models that we created so far. But I guess today we'll add some more things here, and then we will be, of course, or we will probably need, or I'm sure that we'll need, or that's at least the way I want to proceed, to add a separate project for our data access layer, even if it won't be very complicated. Okay, I see that question, how about API paging? Yeah, of course, paging is something that we will cover. It won't be probably today or next time out. I just want first to have a general layout of functionality for this API. But we will also come to paging. We will also come to authentication at a certain point. As I said, this is a stream that I really want to keep going for a longer period. I don't want to rush things. I would like to things to come natural, to develop natural. And when I say that I would like things to develop natural, what I actually mean is that we should implement different features by the time we need them. And right now we are basically, we don't have a database. We're just working with a list of 2 products. And this list is reused each time we restart the application. So right now in this moment, we don't really have this need for paging. But as we will go further and we'll implement the database, and then basically each product, for instance, that we'll create will be a new record in the database, and it will be persisted there. Probably after, I guess, 2 or 3 more streams, we will have enough data in the database that paging would actually make sense. So in that case, we will surely implement paging, since I think that paging is really a very important part for APIs, because of course in APIs it's not scalable to just return all resources the way we do right now, for instance, in this product controller, in this get all method. So this is not something that we should do. You can imagine in a real eShop we might have, I don't know, thousands of products, and returning them all in one single response, well, that's surely a very bad idea. So thank you very much. We'll get into this topic of paging. But right now, I guess we'll go for this idea of databases. So let's add a new project to the solution for starter. So it's add a new project. And this would be once again only a class library, so we choose a class library from here, and yeah, we already did that. And we will name this the same way we named our other project, so it would be Twitch eShop. I wouldn't like to make any typos here, to be just to be consistent. And this would be the DAL layer, data access layer, so it will be Twitch eShop DAL. So yeah, let's then create it. It shouldn't take very long. So yeah, right now we have this this new project. What we can do is delete this class. We don't really need it, this default class. But one thing that we need is here to install some products. And this product, sorry, not products, to install some Nuget packages in order to be able to work with Entity Framework Core. And let's then here go right click and then manage Nuget packages, and let's see, let's get all the packages installed that we actually need. So the first one that we would need would be Microsoft Entity Framework Core, and it will be yeah, just Entity Framework Core. Let's install the latest stable version, which is 3.1.4. So let's get it installed. Okay, we have to accept here, of course, all the other dependencies that we have. And now one other package that we need to install. Let me maybe make this just a little bit bigger to see exactly what happened here. Finished. Okay, the next one that we need would be Microsoft Entity Framework Core Relational, because we want to work with a relational database, and it would be our SQL database. Once again, we will have to accept here, and we would also need Microsoft Entity Framework Core SQL Server, which is this third package. It's still the same version. So when you install packages, usually when you install packages that are, I would say, from the same family, one thing that it would be important to pay attention to is that we always install the same versions. Otherwise, we would have a lot of conflicts and probably would have to make an update. So it's important, at least for Entity Framework Core, that we bring, or that all the packages installed are actually or have the same version. That would be very important. Okay, so I guess that also this Nuget package was installed right now. One other thing that we will need in Visual Studio and we don't have right now would be the Nuget package manager, Nuget package management console, which would help us to, where is this? It's in tools, I get Nuget package manager and package manager console. So we have it here. We will need this console in order to perform migrations and to update the database and so on. And of course, there is one other very important thing that we would need, and well, that is a database. Now, we could use probably databases that are located maybe on a server somewhere or in cloud, like Azure. I use a lot of databases in Azure, but right now, these days, these months, I would guess it's a little bit more complicated with SQL databases in Azure. And that's why I'm very happy that actually we have everything that we need already in Visual Studio. So if we go here on View, we just want to have this SQL Server Object Explorer opened. So it will be opened on the left side. Okay. I guess it depends also on the relationships that you want to create there. Usually these three packages go very well together. Maybe it's just a bad habit for me, but usually when I work with Entity Framework Core, this is for me the default 3 packages that I installed. Now here, these 2 entries that you see here, these are from some SQL servers in Azure, but we have these local DBs, which are SQL servers that are basically handled by Visual Studio. So we have a fully functional SQL database that we can use already from Visual Studio, and I guess that for right now this would be actually all that we need. So we create a new database, and this database, let's call it Twitch. But if I don't make typos, that would be great. Twitch eShop. So right now, this new database will be created. Now from this database, it will be, of course, an empty database. We could, if we want, we could of course create our tables, and then use entity framework core to create the model classes from the tables that we already have. But most of the times we use code first migrations, which means that we basically create first our domain models, and then we will let entity framework core create our tables based on the domain models that we have. However, one last thing that we need from this SQL server or from this database right now is the connection string. So I went on properties, and here under properties we should see somewhere, let me maybe bring this higher up. There should be here a connection string somewhere. Where is the connection string? Here it is. Let's just copy it, and yeah, we can make this smaller again. We won't need it. We won't need that for now. We also don't need this SQL server, so we can close it. We also don't need this Nuget package manager, but we will have to go to the Twitch eShop API, and in the app settings.json we see that we will basically have to create the connection strings here. Line endings didn't really match. So what we will need to do, we will have to add a new object there that would simply allow us to add a connection string there. And of course we use this because we can afterwards, let's see where, but let's go for the main app settings.json. I don't want right now to get into different environments and how we use them. But what we can do here is have another object, connection strings, and this object, of course we would have to put it in quotes, sorry, because it's a connection, and let's capitalize connection strings. And here what we could have, maybe we can have this just as an object, as a plain object in JSON, but we can even have an array so that we would be able to define several connection strings at once. And of course we also need here this, and yeah, that's it. And let's call this default, and this value for this default, it would be then our connection string that we copied over from the properties. And we see that this is a string. We have backslash. Well, we know that it could create problems, because Visual Studio and .NET would see that as an escape sequence, so we have to double it, and I guess this is correct right now. So this connection string should work. Why do we add this connection string is because we will use or we will register the DB context for this database in our API application, and we'll use then dependency injection to make it available wherever else we need. But for now, I guess that should do it. So let's close this app settings.json files. So what would be the next step to do? Okay, So the next step, I guess, would be to see who's. Okay, so as a next step to do, of course, what we need is a DB context, which is the fundamental part for Entity Framework Core. And we'll use this, or we'll create that DB context in this Twitch eShop DAL project. And we'll create it directly here as a class. And we will call it eShop DB context. So yeah, let's create it. Okay, it's created. Let's so it would be a public class. How do we make a class being a DB context? Well, we just have to inherit from DB context, and that should do the trick. One, we would have to add this reference to Microsoft Entity Framework Core, and right now what we will need here is a constructor. Sorry. And in the constructor, we would need to pass in DB context options. It's a generic and it will be of type eShop DB context, and let's call it options. And we would have to pass these options then further to the base class. So that's actually it for the constructor. One other thing that we would have to take into consideration here is that let's also create an override for the on model creating. So it's protected override. It's void. Okay. It doesn't find an override for. That's strange. There should be on model creating an override for. That's kind of strange. I really don't know why. Just say that there is no suitable method to override, and yet that seems strange. Did they change something in Entity Framework Core 3.1? I guess I used 3.1 in some other project and have that problem. Let's try again. So protected override void model creating. It's strange. Let's maybe, I don't know, if maybe in different namespaces. So here, and also SQL Server, it's surely not here. But did we install, or is it is that installed correctly? Has dependencies, packages, Microsoft Entity Framework Core relational. Yeah, it is installed. All the packages are the same version. It's kind of strange. A relational here. Doesn't really seem to see that package. Well, that's strange. I didn't expect that. Has anybody of you worked with okay, so the DB context, if we hover on it, we see that it is in the Microsoft Entity Framework Core library. So it's in the first package that we actually installed. And the DB context, actually we can press F12 and just look in the DB context, and in this case we can see how a DB context well works. It has really a lot of properties, but we have something on model creating detected external void model builder. And we have to pass in the model builder, I guess, otherwise recognize it so far. So usually Visual Studio, what it does, it really understands what you want to do. Let's yeah, and in this case it works. So yeah, I put too much trust in IntelliSense. That's something that I shouldn't do. Okay, so let's go further. Right now in this on model creating, we won't put anything. Basically, here is where we normally customize the way that we want to create our models, or how we want that our models would be mapped to tables in the SQL database. Right now we don't want to add anything here, but if we want to add or to create many-to-many relationships in the database, then we will have to come here and specify some information regarding how this many-to-many relationship should be mapped. And then the other very important part of a DB context is actually what we use in order to define exactly what models do we want to have mapped to tables in our database. And here we add these models as DB sets. So we would see right now that we would need a DB set of product, and we would call this product, and it will be get and set, of course, and product should be capitalized. Yeah, and of course we would have to import the domain, so add the reference to each eShop domain. That's exactly what we did right now. So what this means that when we basically want to do database migrations or updates, it will only try to map the DB sets that we specify here. And of course, if we go to product, we see that this product has actually also subtypes. Let's say like supplier. Supplier is our own class. So in that case, of course, that entity framework will also create a table for the supplier. But actually, the supplier will be available only via the product, at least right now, or the way it is configured right now, because we have just this single DB set. So do you have any further questions on this DB context? So you asked where this DB context class came from. I guess I did manage to answer your question, I hope, at least. So it's from this entity framework core. Good. So if we have this context right now, basically we already have a very big part of what we actually need. What I would like to do is to go to the product, and let's see exactly how it is created. So we have here the ID, we have the name, we have the description, we have the price, and we have a supplier. And then convention is usually that if we have a navigation property, what we want to do is also to have a property to the ID of that supplier. And by convention, if we name this supplier ID, entity framework core would actually know that it's the ID for this supplier that we mean. So that is one change that we have to do. And then I guess for the product we would be good to go right now. We have double price, description, name, this supplier, and photo URL. So yeah, I guess that the product should be okay. And what we can do here right now is, of course, we have to change here in the Nuget package management console to a Twitch eShop DAL. And right now, what we also have here, that yeah, we need to pass in some options, but let's add migration first, migration, and let's see. Okay, we have an error. Okay, it's the migration add. Still, oh my god, but the comment for that, that's strange. We'll sort this out just in a problem. Okay, migrations add. Okay, recognize. I guess that is, yeah, that is specific for the CLI, for the .NET Core CLI, but from the Nuget package manager, it should be add migration first, migration. Did I mistype it? Because I'm fairly sure that this should be the command right now. It's open in the documentation right now. I just opened it. So add migration. I'm right now basically here, and here is this add migration. I guess I have to also specify the namespace. Let's try this. And my namespace would be, in this case, Twitch eShop. Oh, it really doesn't recognize this add migration. It's kind of strange right now. So if you have any idea on why this isn't working. Okay, Microsoft Entity Framework Core Tools. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's totally it. So let's manage Nuget package manager, and we want to start to browse Microsoft. More core, and it would be tools or design. So that one. Also, I think the namespace we still have to provide, I guess, because we have still not recognized. Okay, then let's just scroll down here and see what other things do we have. It is for SQL Server, for relational. Sections, analyzers. This is Microsoft design, relational design. tools. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, I accept. Fine. Yeah. Let's try again. Okay, here at least now it's recognized this commandlet, which is good. Then they say that will be found that matches that. Let's try without a namespace. Started. Fail succeeded. Okay, Twitch eShop API doesn't reference Microsoft framework core design. Okay, so but I don't want to have it in the API. So I'm here in the default project. So that should be it. So yeah, let's also install this, but we install this design. Because it's the startup project. Okay, so it's yeah, we have to, if we would have registered the DB context here, we still have to do it. But I guess we will also register the DB context right now. All this version, I guess, and then we would have to do. Of course, I accept. So I guess all right now. Right now we would have to go here, and we want to, of course, add the service. And I guess we'll also have to install here some packages, because we have to add DB context, and it doesn't know, this method is not known at all. So let's also install here in this startup project some packages, some further packages, and I guess what we would need is the ASP.NET Core. So I see that a lot of things have changed in 3.1, because normally what you needed to add the DB context was already there in version 2.1. Sorry, dependencies, manage Nuget packages, and yeah, let's also look for and let's install it. Yeah, I know that but right now the error changed. So right now yeah, it recognizes this add the DB context, but of course for this add the DB context we would need to pass in some options, and well, this is actually what we'll do. But first of all, we would need to get the connection string from the settings file. So let's have it var, I would call it cs from connection string. It's configuration get section. I would like to get the section that is called, I guess, connection strings, because that's I think the way I called the section. And then I have the default there. Or maybe let's make it easier for now, and let's in app settings.json. No, I don't want to do anything here. Let's not have this an object. Let's just copy here the value, because this would make things a lot easier. And we'll just add this connection string. We'll add the value for the connection string, and it did add it. That and it's already added. It's also a comma, and it should be okay. Let's call it this just connection string. And in this case, what I would expect is that here when we go for this configuration get section, it will just get me already the value. Okay, and then to add DB context, I would like to specify what exactly I mean by DB context, and I will say eShop DB context. This is the DB context that I created in the DAL layer previously. Add reference to Twitch eShop DAL. That's exactly what we need to do. And of course, we would have to provide some options here. So we can say options, and we can use a lambda expression and say options use SQL Server. And then of course what we would need to do is pass the connection string, which should be CS as our variable. Okay, here it says it gets the configuration.cs. Let's make it for now, because I'm sorry, not there the point, but here let's make it toString. The only thing I do that is because I will do I will put a breakpoint here. I will run the application, and then actually I can put a breakpoint even here before adding the DB context. And I want to look exactly what do I have inside this this variable right now. So let's start up the application right now. It should hit this breakpoint when it wants to configure the services, and then we'll be able to just look into what we have there. So it's still starting up. Okay, and let's see what we have here. So in the CS we have this this is called value. So what we need to pass in is the value of this configuration. So in this case we'll just let's remove the breakpoint, and what we need to do here is cs.value in this case, or maybe we can just get the value directly there, and in this case we can just put the connection string, and here this would be of type string right now, and yeah, it should be fine. So right now we have added the DB context to our API. We have registered it as a service, and now it should be available for dependency injection. Let's go now back to our eShop DAL project, and also to the Nuget package manager console, and I would like to take a look. Yeah, but if you run this get connection strings, then that would expect that you have in the app settings.json file an object that is defined exactly like ASP.NET Core or Entity Framework Core in this case would expect it to have. Okay, so let's go back here and try once again to add the migration and see what happens in this case. So it's initial create, build started, build succeeded. Okay, and they added the migration, which is very cool, because right now we can see that in this DAL folder in this DAL project, Entity Framework Core created this migrations folder in which we have this class which represents our first migration, and here in this case we can see exactly, or we can find out what it created. It created a table for supplier with ID, name, description, and website with constraints, and what is the primary key of this supplier. And then it creates a table for products Here it has ID, name, description, price. It has the supplier ID and the photo URL, and it has also constraints. It has a primary key, which is the ID of the product, but it also has a foreign key, which is the basically the ID of the supplier. So if we hover the mouse here, we can already see that it basically references that supplier. And that's mostly it. So right now, theoretically, what we could do is we can just update database, and theoretically right now it should succeeded. And if we go right now to SQL Server, once again it is under View, SQL Server Object Explorer. Where is it? If we go to this switch eShop table, we see that indeed we have a products table with let's say the columns that we have here. We have this ID, which is the primary key, name, description, price, supplier ID, which is the foreign key, and the photo URL, which at least for now I think it should be correct. It's what I expected. And for the supplier, we have once again this primary key, the ID, the name, description, and websites. And based on this supplier ID and the fact that we have a foreign key constraint in products for it, this is how basically this relationship between a product and a supplier is done. And yeah, that's basically what I expected. Now the next step would be, of course, to use this DB context in our controllers. But before we actually go to do that, there is one more thing that I always like to do, and basically use the repository pattern. And if you work with Entity Framework so far, I'm sure that you probably also use this pattern. So the entire idea of using repositories is that we shouldn't just simply add the DB context to all the controllers and then do a lot of logic there, but instead we should decouple it and have the logic for data retrieval and data updates in the repositories, with the idea, or with the basic idea that theoretically, if we add this eShop DB context to all of our controllers, if we at a certain point, for instance, we want to change the database provider, we don't really want to use SQL anymore, maybe we want to go for Cosmos DB, so a NoSQL database. In that case, we would have to add a total different provider, and things could break. Or maybe we can simply, or we will simply want to use a total different database, not SQL Server. And in that case, maybe we just need to create a different DB context, or a DB context like class that would handle the connection to that specific database. Now imagine if we want to do the change and we have the DB context injected in all our controllers. This means that we would actually need to go in all of our controllers and change everything that has to do with database retrieval, database writes, and so on. So this whole idea of repositories is that, you have the repositories that you inject virtually anywhere where you need in the application, not only in the controllers. You can maybe use that in middleware and other places. Maybe in HTTP client factory, if you need to make calls, or basically there are virtually a lot of parts of the application where you could basically use the database. So instead of the need to really go everywhere and change the DB context, we only have the repositories that rely on the DB context. So this means that our repositories, if we go to them and just change the DB context and change, what we still need to change in that specific repository to make things work, but in all other part of the application, everything will remain the same. So this is why I usually like to use this repository pattern. Now, if you read on the internet, you will see a lot of very strong opinions of people that would say that okay, it's not okay to use the repository pattern if you already have the DB context. But again, the discussions there are very opinionated. I see from my point of view a very good reason, or some very good reasons for which we could use Entity Framework Core and use also the repository pattern. So will you implement a generic repository? No, I won't implement a generic repository here, but I will implement a generic repository in the social network application. So the streams that I do on Wednesdays. As said, here for this one, I really want to keep things as simple as possible. But there, when we talk about domain-driven design and try to abstract away a lot of things and functionality and highly encapsulate everything and make it flexible, open to extensions, like respecting the solid principles. There, I guess we would have also generic repositories for different types of very simple actions that we want to use for the database. But that is actually a very, very important question. So thank you very, very much. Now, the only thing that we would still need is when we implement a repository, I guess you know that we will have to add the repositories as services in our startup.cs file. And the best practice, as you know, is whenever we have such services, they should depend on abstractions. So we need to have a clear contract about what that repository is supposed to do, so that we don't have any surprises. So we would have to create some interfaces. So we would need to create an iProduct repository interface in which we would define the contract for data retrieval or data writes for that specific product, for that specific DB set. Now, question to you there: where should we create these interfaces? In which project? In the API, in the DAL, or in the eShop domain? So let's see. So once again, we need in order to expose interfaces. Okay, so I see the domain as an answer. Okay, but why? Let's see. Why should we create the interfaces in the domain? Any ideas? In the meantime, I guess I'll go to the domain and I'll create a new folder, but still okay, because it should be part of the apps core. Okay, but why should it be part of the apps core? It has to do with the dependency inversion pattern or principle from the solid principles, because higher level modules should not depend on lower level modules, the DAL being a lower level module. So in this case, the way we do this, we define the contracts at the domain level, and everything should then depend on that contracts. Only lower level modules should depend on it. So this is the main reason why we create the interfaces in domain. So let's go and create an interface. Let's name it iProduct repository. It would be a public, and it's not a class, but it's an interface. Okay. Good. What behavior do we need to define in this contract, in this interface? I guess we would have to define first a method that returns a list or enumerable of a product, and it would be get all, or let's make it get all product. Oh, sorry, it's an interface. We don't have to provide an implementation. Although starting with C#8, you can actually implement or have basic implementations in interfaces. this feature was introduced in order to no async. For now we don't make it async. We'll implement asynchronicity just a little bit later, probably today. But as said, I just want to go step by step, to take it really slow, and we'll implement it also this asynchronicity just a little bit later. Then what we would need to do is another one that returns a product, and it will be get a product by ID most probably. And here we would have to specify an ID, so the int ID. What do we have here? We we return a product, create product, and in this case what we need to do is we need a product or do you know what, if you said about async, let's make it async. Let's make it async from the start. So if this was the feedback, let's do it. So if we make it async, of course, as per best practices, we also add the async keyword at the end of the method name, so that everybody that looks into this should know that this should be an async implementation. This would be also async. Create product, I guess it would be also async. What do we have? Do we have an update product? And to not just return void, let's return a bool, and we update true if or we return true if the update was successful, and we return false if the update was not successful. Again, this is a very simple approach, because otherwise in regular applications, or maybe we'll do this just maybe way later in our API, when we want to really make it as close as possible to a production API, we would usually just return an object, something like operation result, and that object operation result would have a property called error or is error that we could set to true or false, and we also can add different other things or information to that operation result, so that clients could use the information that we provide there to define where to go forward after a call to our repository was made. But for now, let's make it bool, and let's make it create update product async, and then we will have also to take in a product. And one other thing that we would do is delete, and we will also return a bool here, delete product async, and it will be here we actually need only the ID, int product ID, and let's call also this product ID. So yeah, that should be the okay. Should be better to return the product you are updating instead of bool. So normally when you do update, you don't really return the product back. Usually you return the same product back when you create it, if the creation was successful. But we can do that. I said normally, or the way I would do this usually, is basically everything would return just an operation result, which would be a generic class, and in that operation result it would have probably a property called like object that will contain the object that has been performed work on. But for now, no, I think for now we'll just return a bool. We can change this maybe later. Okay, good. So right now, I guess this is the contract that we need, so that we define in this interface. So we can go further and implement this interface. And of course, the implementation we will put in the DAL, in the data access layer. So we'll create a new folder here that we will call repositories. let's try also to spell it correctly or type it correctly. Repositories, and in this case let's add new class. It will be product repository. We make it public, and it has to implement the interface iProduct repository. We would also, of course, need to add the reference right it, and the interface is not implemented, but we can click here on implement interfaces, and Visual Studio will implement it for us. Now, okay, let's of course we will have to implement the behavior. Here for create product, what we want to do is once again we'll start very simple. We won't do any validations and checks and so on. So we start really simple and just perform the work that we want to do. Later we will surely come back here and refactor it to also think or to also take into consideration a lot of conditions that could lead to error. Yeah, we should return definitely a task. That is correct. That is totally correct. Let me go back. So it will be a task first, and that will be in system threading tasks. And here we would have to also implement a task. Oh, sorry, it's totally. I think I'm a little bit too tired, maybe. Of course, it's like that. Then we'll return here once again a task product, and we'll also return a task of full, because we'll what did it happen? Okay, and also here task. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. It is indeed very correct. So let's now go back to this product repository and try to implement. So what we'll have here is first sorry, in the repository there is one thing, of course, that we still need, and we still need the constructor for it. In the constructor we need an eShop DB context, and that's why we also need a private field, because otherwise we cannot access the properties. And we'll make it also read only, and this private field will be DB context. eShop DB context, and of course in the constructor we'll assign to it, and that's it. And here the first thing that we could do is, okay, we want to create a new product. Let's simply await context products is the problem here. Of course it's a DB context of eShop DB context. That is what we need to add. I know that I create a class. I have this DB entity framework, but I already have it. So let's so it should be an eShop DB context. Okay, eShop DB context and on eShop. But right now it it will definitely is. Then if I go to context, I should have here my DB set. Yeah, but I have it. I don't know what it didn't appear the first time, and we just have to add. And the idea here is with add async. Let's take a look here. It also begins to track this product that we want to add. So yeah, let's make add async, and in this case we just provide the product. Of course, yeah. Sorry, we have to. Of course, we have to return a task. Return await. We need to implement tasks here. So yeah, this is for sure one problem that we had. But here the way to and of course, yeah, it should be async. And still cannot convert models Twitch eShop domain product to Twitch eShop domain models product. This is a DB set of product, which is correct. Have this here also as a product. So cannot convert type Microsoft Entity Framework core entity Twitch eShop domain models product to Twitch eShop domain models product. So yeah, that's actually again very strange. The DB context set t entity add async. Yeah, that could also work, but I would really like to use this add. Let's try. Just let's try. I'm just curious because I think that that async method might create some problems. Get the waiter. Okay, then in this case I don't need a wait, but then the error is still here, and it's actually the same thing. Cannot convert to Twitch domain models product to Twitch eShop domain models product. That's because it tries to create. Let me. So let's change this back. The task of product. We'll get this. I want to use this simple way with context products, because it should be possible to actually. It should be possible times. I did it a lot of time. So why is this? First of all, we don't really want to return this right now, and yes, that might be the reason why we had that problem. because returning this it would return just an entity. But if it doesn't fail, then what we will have to do, because this add async, it simply does add it to the context, and then what we have to do is actually save changes async. And actually we don't need this add async method, because right now we just add it to the DB context. So in this specific spot, we don't write anything to the database. We only write to the database when we run save changes. So this is why we have to await this save changes, and not when we add this product to the context. So that would be it. And in this case, what we could then do is then simply return product. As said, usually we would add here also some validation, error handling, try catch blocks, and so on. But I just want to have this simple layout now working. So yeah, we managed also to find the resolution to this problem. Now for to delete product, in this case we would have to do let's see, var result. I'm curious what it returns. Context products dot remove, and you see that you basically say here right now, I want to remove. We have to provide the product first, so we have to get it first. So of course var product equals and in this case we will make a call to the database, so we use the await, so it would be await context the products. Here we can either use the find or first or default default async, and here we have to specify product lambda expression on expression, but we use the form of a lambda, and say that where the product ID equals the product ID that we basically get here. Okay, so what is the problem here right now? Let's see. Make this, of course. We would have async task full, and right now it should be okay. So right now here we would have a product which is correct. So in this case we don't actually need this result variable anymore. And here we can say simply well, remove, and we say here product, the product that we want to remove. Of course I have to also type it correctly. That would be great if I do, and that's correct. And of course what we also have to do is context save changes, of course async, and we have to await it. And for now let's also return true. Later when we will add some error handling here, of course what we'll do is that if we have an error we return false, but right now we return true. Now get all products, let's not forget anymore that it should be an async task of enumerable of product, and here actually that should be fairly simple. Return await context products context products to, let's make it to list. Is not okay. List of products don't contain definition of get a waiter. Because it's a to list async, yeah, of course, because there are two methods. It's a to list and to list async when we use this asynchronously. So going further, let's see what do we need to implement. Yeah, of course. Right now, I saw that you said it's to list async. That's correct. Now I opened the comments only. So get product by ID async. That's actually very simple because we can let's just start by returning a task product, and we want to make this method also async. And here we can directly return, I guess, wait context products first or default async, and we'll have to provide the lambda expression. So we want to return the product for which the ID is equal to the product ID that we get here as the parameter in this method. And last but not least, what we would have to do is well, update a certain product. Now here we would assume, although I guess I will make this change also to the interface. So if we go to the iProduct repository, I would say here that what we take as an incoming parameter is an updated product. So then the client that uses this repository should already give us the updated version of the product. And when we'll go to implement it, first of all, we would need to get the product var product. Okay, let's also make the changes here. Updated product first, and then we will also make this async and returning the task. Okay, and this would be equal to context products first or default async. Now this updated product should already contain the ID of the product. So we want to update the product for which the ID is equal to updated product.id. Okay, and then what we can see here is that okay, once we found out that that product, we can basically try to update it. And here the way we can do the update of the product. Again, there are some easier ways to do, but right now I just want to that we understand really the reasoning behind is that what we want to do is that we say here for product, for instance, we go through all the properties and say product description. Okay, of course we have to await this because otherwise it's a task that what we get and it has a result. So the ID is not something that we want to update, but we maybe the product name is different, and here it would be equal to updated product dot name. Then product dot what's the next one, photo URL equals to updated product photo URL. We have here still we have the price, or maybe the price has changed, and updated product.price. What else do we have? If the supplier has changed, of course we just want to also change the supplier. So updated product, we use the supplier from there. And product dot supplier ID is not something that we want to change, and I guess that well, that seems to be all. Now what we can do right now is then update this product in the DB context, and here we can just say context. Here we don't have to wait because this operation won't make a call to the database. As said, calls to the database are only made when we call that that save changes, and of course when we get data from database. So here it will be context products dot update, and here in update what we would have to provide is the entity that we want to update, and it would be the product that we want to update. It's this one, which by now should have all the values that we would need. Then we would say context save changes async, and this is a method that we have to await, because this is when we actually make the call to the database and try to persist the change, and then we can simply right now return true. As said, for now no error handling. Okay, can you make a tutorial about delegates in C#? It is something that I don't fully understand. Okay, sure, that's a good idea actually. And delegates, from my point of view, is a feature that that is really not very often used anymore, because when you say delegate in C#, technically it means something that you usually use in event-driven programming, or when you wanted to do event-driven programming only using C#, so in a synchronous way, so to say. But what we mean here is that actually these are not really 100% delegates, but these are more, I would say, expressions. But of course, that's a good idea, and thank you very much for the feedback. I will definitely consider on making a tutorial about delegates, but I guess that would be a very short video, or a shorter video, and I guess I will publish it to only my YouTube channel probably. Good, but now I guess we have the repository. Let me look. Let me look if I have errors, but no, it seems that I don't have any errors. Let's maybe try to rebuild the solution to be sure, because the last thing that we would need to do right now is to add this repository to the dependency injection system of ASP.NET Core, and rebuild is succeeded, and then to use it in our products controller, and see how we can then work directly with the database. Now what we want to do is services and scoped, and it's very important. Repositories always should be added as scoped services. So it would be a service of type I product repository, and the implementation would be the product repository, which should be in using Twitch eShop DAL repository, which is correct. Yeah. So once again, it's important that we add this service as scoped. Okay. Yeah, I'll surely do a tutorial on delegates probably this week, but most probably on Thursday or Friday, I guess. But I'll surely do a video on delegates this week. Good. So now that we added this service to our dependency injection container in ASP.NET Core, we can use it in our products controller. And here in this case, let me just add private read only. It's a service of type I product repository, and let's call it product. And here, instead of the seeder, I just want to get an iProducts repository. Let's call it products and change this. Sorry. Products equals product, so that should be it. And right now we can basically replace our seeder with our database. Here for get all, what we want to do is actually products. We don't use the seeder anymore, but instead we use here products, and it would be get all products. However, this is an async method, so in this case we would also have to make some changes here. So we won't return an iActionResult, but we will return a task of iActionResult instead. And of course we would also need to make this method async, because right now also our controller methods should be async. So right now we get a list of products, and we get all the products, and this should be an enumerable of products, which is correct. But for each var product in products, what is the, of course, yeah, we have to await it. We have to await it. It's async, yeah. And here the other part of the logic should remain the same. Test models in the name. Okay, I will look into that very much. Okay, here the logic remains pretty much the same. We just await here, but then everything goes synchronously further. Then when we go with this get product by ID, again, what we need to do is not use the seeder anymore, but simply we want to await, and instead of the seeder, but we don't need to use any first or default here. We just use the repository products get product by ID async, and the only thing that we need to provide here is actually the ID. Okay, something, of course, yeah, I forgot to make also this method or this action async action. So task of iActionResult is the return type, and we have to mark it as async, and now it should be fine. Once again, further the logic should not change, so it should be exactly the same thing, I would guess. And then here with create product, what we need to do is once again this type of mappings from the DTO to a real product is okay. So it's something that we actually want to do. However, what I want to do is right now I just don't want to provide a photo URL and a supplier. Let's leave this null for now, and of course when we'll also create a DB set for suppliers, or yeah, we'll also maybe make an API endpoint for it for suppliers, so that we will be able to also create suppliers via the suppliers endpoint, not via the product, which this is the proper way that this should look like. And also very important, we don't want to add the ID. The ID is something that will be added by Entity Framework Core, but other than that, here in this case also when we add the product we return the bool, so we'll have to change this a little bit. What we'll have to do, of course, here add this as a task of iActionResult. We have to make this controller action async, so also mark it with the async keyword. Okay, and then add result. Let's see, here we will have products dot create product async, and what we have to pass in is the product in this case, and this will return the product back. Of course we need to also await this, so that we have to return the product, and in this case if it doesn't or if something happens, probably we will return something like an error, or maybe we will return null instead of a real product. And then in this case let us just however this would be only the case when we implement some very basic error handling in our data access layer. So in this case, let's for now say that if add the result equals null, so if it happens that this product is null, then we simply return the bad request. but otherwise we go and return this created. And well, if the model state is not valid at all, then we simply return a bad request, and that's it. Okay, then for updating a product, in this case, once again, in the updated product, so we have a new product, the ID, yeah, it is the correct one, because this will be from the URL, from the endpoint, so something that that we manage, and we can trust that the ID that we get here is really the ID of the product. Then what we update here is only the name and the description. Let's add here also updated product, just to make sure that that we have everything in order. Name, description, let's add the photo URL, updated, but yeah, in this case I guess we'll have to go to this product post put DTO, and also take in a string, public string photo URL get set. Let's go back to the controller. So yeah, the photo URL would be the same from the updated product. The price, if we want to update the product, let's maybe also update the price. Price equals, but here updated product DTO. Sorry, yeah, I got a little bit confused, and also I mistyped it. That should be fine. And it would be updated product DTO dot price. Okay, and I guess that I don't know what we need. Name, description, price. The supplier ID is not something that we will have to add. The supplier, I guess that we can change the supplier. But let's play with the supplier just a little bit later, because I guess it would still make sense that we add an endpoint, a dedicated endpoint for the supplier, and when we make any changes there, maybe we have a service that tries to keep the suppliers in sync with the products that we have. Now the only thing that we have to take into consideration is update product. So we will have, and of course also for this one it would be async task action result, and here we'll say updated result equals products dot update product async, and of course we would have first to await it. And here I guess what we need is an updated product, so that's exactly what we will pass in. So updated product, not the DTO, but the one that we just customized. Right now the update result would be bool, because from our repository we return true or false. So true theoretically if everything went fine, false if we still had problems and the product wasn't updated. Then everything else can remain the same. And then it is this delete product, which is also very simple to implement. We however need also to change this to be returning task of action result, and it should do this asynchronously. So delete result, in this case what we need to do is use the product field and delete product async, and the only thing that we need to pass in is the product ID, and of course we also have to await it. And since this method also returns a bool, or so true or false, then it really means that we can still do this check here and return okay if this delete result is true, and then return a bad request if that is not the case. Let's just rebuild the solution and try it out. Okay, everything worked. So yeah, let's start the API and see if everything works fine. Right now everything should be wired up together. Okay, so the application started, which is correct, and here we have Postman. That's actually from last time. I didn't use Postman so far. So let me go first to this post, and from the body I try to post an empty body, of course, because we tested the validation. I just want to take a real product, not just write the JSON. Its name, description, and price. And I would guess we added some other information, but we'll add that manually. So let's try it. Let's try it with the get first. So right now, if we make a call to API/products, I would expect an empty list and not an error, hopefully. It's 200 okay, and I see that I received an empty array, which is correct. So this is exactly what I expected. Then if we go further, and of course we cannot get a product by ID, but what we can do here is make a post to this product, and in the body we have this name, and let's give it a name, Dell XPS 17. I heard that Dell just released an XPS model which has a 17-inch monitor, which is pretty cool, I guess. Then description, Dell XPS 17-inch monitor. I really don't know what the price for this is, but I would guess it's something, I don't know, like maybe 900 or maybe more. Maybe it's $1,500 or something like that. Let's give it here also a number. Let me just check, because I tend to forget a lot of things, and if I go here back to my DTOs, product put post DTO, so name, description, we have name, description, price, and photo URL. And here in this case, the photo URL we just will just leave as an empty string. It would be photo URL, and let's leave it as an empty string. Sorry, I don't want to really save this. Okay, so I guess that right now we should be able to create a product. Let me go also and maybe put a breakpoint that I want to check. What do I get when I create when I try to create a new product, and to also see if the validation is correct. So we make the request. From body we receive a product DTO which has a description, a name, a photo URL, and a price, which is correct. And then yeah, let's see what we have as a result. And we have provided model is not valid. Okay, let me try again. Let's see, model state, model validation it's not valid. Let's check exactly what is not valid for this. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think we okay, errors, count. Error message, the field description must be a string or array type with a maximum of 10. Okay, yeah, that's great. I just forgot that last time out when we played with model validation, we said that okay, the description should be of maximum 10 characters, and of course I'm sure that we had a lot more. So let's make this max length 200, and let's start again. And I would expect that right now it should work, I guess. Yeah, let's go back to Postman. I think our breakpoint should still be there. Indeed it is. And now is valid is true, so right now it should go further, and let's see what will we have right now. okay, we got an error from Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Okay, an error occurred. The foreign key constraint problem. Okay, so I guess the problem is here that we would have to also specify a supplier here. Otherwise, yeah. The problem is that in this case, I guess that the reason why we get this is that actually don't get a supplier and then it can't create that relationship. So what we can do in this case, I guess it's let's try if we can supplier equals supplier. Sorry, so it would be product DTO dot supplier. Or no, let's just create a new supplier. Let's right now we just want to trick Entity Framework Core to just create a supplier for this product that we create, and then for the update, I think we shouldn't really care right now, so it shouldn't give problems. So let's run it again. And try again. This time I hope it will work. Let's make a new call. I still have that breakpoint there. I don't really want it anymore, so let's take it and just continue. And let's see what happens this time. And this time we have 201 created, and as we can see, it also created a supplier with the ID 1. But of course, all the other properties are on default values, and as all the properties were reference types, they are null. So that isn't a very big problem. So, but right now, if I run a get to the products, then it should get me a list of products with only this product, and the supplier is null. In this case, okay, if I want to get product by ID, or the ID was not correct. Was the ID 2 or? Yeah, the ID was 2. So I get the product by ID right now. What do I still want to do? I want to make a put. And let's go here to the body, and let's just delete this word, and let's just also change the price. Let's make it 1600, and click send. 200. Okay, the product was updated successfully, and right now we can also run a get. Let's do the get on the entire list, and here we see that it's 1600 right now, but the monitor, that one was actually not updated. Why was the description not updated correctly? Because in the put, in the body, we did change that. Don't we have the description there? Let's put a breakpoint. Exactly what happens here. I want a breakpoint here, and let's make a new update. So the update product DTO, it has the description is right now correct. The model state is valid, which is okay. Let's go then one by one. ID for the updated product, I set it to the ID. That's okay. The name, I set it to name. Then the description, that is the description, which is correct. And the photo URL, and then the price, and the updated result. It was true, and then continue. So once again, the product was updated, they say, but get products with the ID 2, and right now it was updated, but yeah, I'm not sure quite, or no, it was still not updated. So the price is updating, but the product is not updating. Let's go into the repository. Let's go into the repository, because I'm curious what happens there. Of course, we don't update the description here. That is the problem. So we forgot to update the description. Of course. So it will be product.description equals updated product description, and I guess that now it should work. Let's start again. We'll start over, and let's try again. So we try to put the exact same thing. We go to the body. It's yeah, this monitor was deleted, and of course I hit the breakpoint here. I don't want a breakpoint here, and sending request. Product was updated successfully, and here let me also put a get, or run a get against this same URL, and in this case we see that yeah, now this product was updated. So the update also works correctly. Now the last thing that we would have to change is to check is if we run a delete against this URL, product was deleted successfully. And right now if we do a get, let's do a get for all products, send, and right now we get once again an empty array. So yeah, that's it seems that our basic implementation for this repository seems to work right now, and yeah, I guess we can be very happy till now. So just as a short recap or summary about what we did today is we added a new project which is called Twitch eShop DAL from data access layer. In this data access layer we have implemented entity framework core, we have implemented a DB context, and then of course we have implemented iProducts repository interface in the domain, and we have defined the interface and we have implemented it in the DAL layer in this product repository class. Then the next thing that we did is in the API in the startup.cs class, we just get the connection string to our database, and we add the DB context passing the options and of course the connection string, and then we also add the repository, the iProduct repository service, as a scoped service, which we then afterwards inject in our controller. And right now all over our products controller we only use this products repository to persist products. So right now what we can do is simply delete this seeders field because we really don't need it anymore. It's not useful at all. So yeah, I guess that's in summary what we did today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope it was nice for you. Maybe you learned one or two things that seem to be new. And once again, if you have any suggestions, questions, just please don't be shy and write me either via the chat when I'm online, or you can use the suggestion box which you can find on my Twitch channel. If you just scroll down a little bit, you will find that panel with the title suggestion box. You can just leave your suggestion there. I mean, suggestions could be maybe topics that you want to have covered during this stream, maybe features that you want to add to this API. So let's try to maybe architect and design this API together and add a lot of features. Next time out, I guess we'll continue and we'll try to implement also some other endpoints. And the main goal is, I'm not 100% sure if we'll be able to really get to this end goal, but the end goal would be to also have an endpoint for a shopping cart. And adding a shopping cart functionality is very important, because in that case we will most probably need to implement a many-to-many relationship, and I think it's important to have a look at how this should be implemented, again at a very basic level with a minimum of features, or with a minimum of fancy tricks, so that we get it working and we understand the basics and how the entire flow of each request should look like. So where does the request come in, what do I do with the request, how do I offload the work to the repository, what does the repository do, and so on. So I just want to concentrate on this real overview of what this API should do. Yeah, so this is what we'll do next time. We'll try to get in this shopping cart feature. Once again, thank you very much for watching. It was very nice to have you here. And yeah, I wish you the best, and hopefully we'll see each other then on Wednesday when we'll continue with domain-driven design and the social media network that we want or that we try to create together. And there you can see also some more advanced and fancy C# and .NET stuff, like a lot of generics, like base classes that we implement, and so on. Thank you very much for watching again, and really I wish you a very good evening. Bye.